So we are almost done with the framing. So now we are moving into sheathing. Sheathing is pretty basic, but we'll also be talking about building science, about airtightness and waterproofing. So let's get into it. I have 4 tips for you for cutting the Advantech Zip System. We love this product. The only thing is that cutting it can be pretty painful. So here's what I want to show you. So for one thing, safety goggles are a must. These ones are from DeWalt and they have like this sort of gasket at the bottom. Just make sure when you put them on that this gasket is covering completely here, because the dust is so fine that it can get into your eyes even wearing this. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, chips fly into your face, into your neck. So if you have access to a bandana like this one, try to get it. And by the way, this one is also for Hoover. We're not sponsored in any way, but we could be, you know. So if you're from Hoover, don't forget to comment below. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3, this is my favorite one. So add masking tape to the area where you're going to cut. And this is going to help you with 2 things. So one is that as you are cutting, sometimes the chips fly and you lose your line and you need to see where you were going. With this one, the line always stays in place. That's one thing. And the other thing is it's going to reduce the amount of chips flying into your face by about, I would say 70 to 80%. It's actually, it makes a very good difference. There's some extra time of laying it down, but I think it's totally worth it. And the final tip number 4, with your saw, I usually like to see where the saw is going when I'm cutting, but that increases the amount of chips going into your face. So if you can follow the marking here instead, just trust it, make sure that you are cutting where you need to cut when you start, and then just follow that line, and your face and neck are going to be much safer. So now let's do some cutting. Safety first. I push this down to make sure that this is in place. Then my hearing aid, and there we go. Okay, and I'm running out of battery, of course, because I'm making a video, but hopefully you got to see the difference between using masking tape and not.
Winter is almost upon us, you can tell. Although I must admit, this is the best time of the year to work. You don't get sweaty and all that stuff, it's awesome. But mornings are pretty cold, like right now. The one thing I wanted to show you is how we opened up this window. I don't know if you'll see a video here or after. We are using what this guy, we affectionately call him the Minion. Hopefully you can tell why we call him the Minion. This guy is more like a DIY router. It's like a 1/4-inch shaft. You can tell it's also very old. I had it before I even had all these crazy ideas of building houses. If you're going to do this, do it with a more industrial router. If you can get like the 1/2-inch shaft, even better. We learned this from a different YouTuber, Matt Bankswood. He doesn't put that many videos anymore. So basically, you just route through the sheathing, and it makes a pretty nice hole. I'm still debating if this is the best way. I mean, if you can really cut really well, you might as well do it yourself. The problem with the router is that it traces every little imperfection of the stud as well. At the end of the day, this is a rough opening, so it should be fine. But anyway, just to let you know. But yes, and it has like a massive explosion of dust as you're routing. So yeah, you'll be able to tell this for sure. We are almost done with the wall sheathing. We want to take care of the walls first, so that we have nice access before we put the roof sheathing. So you will also, that's also part of this episode anyway. But what I wanted to show you is, well, when you build an assembly like this, the 2 most critical points when it comes to waterproofing, air tightness, and bug tightness are the bottom, the interface between the concrete and the walls, and the top, the interface between the roof and the walls. So that's where we need to put most of our attention. We will also obviously take care of the walls very well as well. So the first, we're going to be doing this shingle style. We're going to start from the bottom up so that as we assemble things, they will overlap on top of each other and water can run off. The very first product we're going to be using here in the interface between the concrete and the walls is going to be this Prosoco R-Guard joint seam filler. If you know Matt Reisinger or do any kind of research on this, you will find his videos. This is the first time we use it. We're not sponsored by anyone, so we'll give you our honest opinion. It looks pretty good overall. We'll see. Obviously, as we move along the walls, we'll be taking care of the zip sheathing with zip tape. And then finally, when we get to the very top, we're going to take care of the gaps using this spray foam insulation, which is also fireproof. To be honest, we're going to be doing this as well because we need to improve our craftsmanship when it comes to woodworking. We have a few gaps up there that this is going to kind of hide. So for the main house, we need to step up our game. Finally, we will be using this guy, but we will also be using acoustic sealant, Lexel in this case. So these are the tools that we'll be using here for the walls, and I'll be showing you the process as we go along. This feels like one of those times where, like, you hear in the news that somebody died for trying to take a selfie next to a cliff, where I'm gonna be doing making some videos here on the roof, getting the air tightness a little bit better. So what I want to do first is I'm going to use the spray foam I showed you before, and I'm going to use it to protect these bigger gaps. They're like a 1/4 inch. If the gap is smaller, I will probably do acoustic sealant. So I'm going to be doing this for the entire perimeter of the shed, so let's get to it.
There's not much to say about it, but we do have a couple of tips. So the first one, per the instructions, never ever forget to roll it. If you use the roller from Zip, it has a Z shape that it's going to leave a mark, and you know what you have done and what is missing. Now the other thing is, if you have nails that are popping out and when you roll them you see that the heads are coming out, of course first, if possible, try to drive them in, but if not, mark them so you can apply some waterproofing afterwards. And the last one is a tape for purchasing. So these two tapes are exactly the same product once it's applied, but the packaging is different. So this one here, we got it from the home center ourselves. It was a roll like this big, $30-something. And then we ordered this one online and it was 20-something. We're like, oh great, we saved money. But no, this one has less amount of product because it has a backer paper. So just make sure that you're getting what you need when you order. Honestly, I prefer the one without the backer paper. You don't have to deal with all that garbage afterwards. But this one may have an application if you need to do like a weird piece and you can pre-cut it and bring it up with you. And just a funny anecdote on how good of a product this is and how sticky it is. The splash shield of our construction truck came undone and it was hitting the ground, and we were like in the middle of the road and what are we going to do now? And we had a zip tape in the back and we said let's apply a patch with it. It was supposed to be temporary. It's been 3 months and that thing is still stuck and working great. So that gives you an idea of how sticky and how good of a product this is.
It is temporary. So let's talk a little bit about liquid flash and zip tape. So what I would say is, well, first I got in a raffle for free from Advantech a bunch of liquid flash, and it works amazing. And I also got these two cold guns, I think 30 ounce and 20 ounce or 15, whatever. They're my favorites. You can tell I've been using them forever. So that one thing. And so first, let's talk about the liquid flashing up there. What I would say about that liquid flashing is, because you see the rafters and all these weird angles, it makes much more sense to use liquid flash up there. But when it comes to like straight lines and stuff, zip tape is probably better than liquid flash. The reason for that is because liquid flash is actually pretty messy. You can probably tell from my clothes or not, but it is super messy. So when possible, I think the tape is better, but for rough spots, liquid flash is great. One more thing I wanted to mention is, I probably mentioned this like a bazillion times already, but we're using this shed to learn things, and I didn't really know how to adjust the depth on the nail gun, and I was overdriving some fasteners. So what's the solution? Put some liquid flash on them. So come around, let me show you. So here you can tell I'm putting a bunch of liquid flashing on every nail head. To be honest, it's like super simple, super quick. You just go like pew, 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 and just pass with the spatula and it's all done. So to be honest, doesn't take much time, doesn't take much product. So if you choose to do it, I don't think it's a big deal. So we are almost done with the sheathing. As you can see, we have put all of the zip tape. We actually got some Prosoco, which is also like liquid flash, like zip liquid flash, except it is actually cheaper. So they both seem to be about the same. So what we ended up doing, the Prosoco is the pink, the liquid flash is the gray. So just to come around, like I mentioned before, the two weakest points are at the very bottom between the foundation and the framing, and at the very top between the roof and the walls. So I ended up going around the entire perimeter of the shed, and I put Prosoco to make it as airtight as possible. I also used the Prosoco to cover all nail heads. It doesn't really take that much effort, so why not do it? And it doesn't take that much material, but I know they've done experiments that it doesn't matter, so it's up to you. So yeah, let's move on to a different thing. So as you can see, we have some snow in the ground. It's November already. We're close to finishing the sheathing. But that said, the next episodes would have been installing exterior insulation, getting the windows, getting the sunroof. But based on the fact that we're almost in December, a lot of these products, they have like about a month lead time. And so it takes them, so a month from now, it's going to be January. And January here in Netherlands, it's going to be like 2 foot of snow. So I'm not even sure if the truck is going to be able to make it in here and deliver the product. So based on that, we're just going to take a pause, maybe work on the inside for later episodes. But what we're going to do is we're going to block the windows with zip panel based on the same fact that it snows, there's wind and everything. We're covering the sunroof as well.
So the last step for the sheathing is just getting inside and looking for daylight and then just covering it. So I don't know if you get to see up there, but we had some daylight in there and we used Lexel to cover it, and it does a good job. The only problem is that since it's transparent, you keep seeing that daylight. So maybe Big Strech would have been a better application for this, would have been a better product for this application. In some other spots we used spray foam insulation, but that's pretty much it. So here I'll give you a sneak peek and spoiler alert of our next episode. We have a beautiful door. And, well, I think that's going to be it for this episode on the sheathing. We are pretty much done. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.